Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world. Receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, created by whom? We the people. We the people. We the people. Always remember that it's we the people who make things happen here in the United States of America, around the world, and elsewhere. Not the billionaires who really have always accomplished nothing. They have constantly and entirely based their wealth on the services, the excess services we provide to them that goes unpaid. That is our economic model. That's not what you've learned in school, but that is our economic model. Anybody who has any interest in this, in talking about that in a factual basis, one-on-one, please feel free to give us a call at 713-526-5738. But without further ado, let's go to the geniuses in the studios, the people who make things happen, who gives you the ability to hear this wonderful show created by all of us here. That is, again, the one and only Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beva.
Oh, I think that Jack deserves top billing this morning. I was sitting here telling him how to do his job, and I thought, no, Jack knows what he's doing. So I just went ahead and shut up.
My madness.
Yes, he does, and it works too. Good morning, Egberto. It is Tuesday morning at the radio, the 22nd of April, 2025, and my rant today is to the Republican House. You say you're afraid of Donald Trump. What is he going to do? I'm so afraid of him. Well, you damn well better be afraid of the voters. It's the people out there with the signs carrying stuff saying, stop, hands off. You better be afraid of them more, because Donald Trump did not appoint you to your job. The voters voted you in. Those are the people you better fear. And I say, at midterms, should we have them, there's going to be a Republican slaughter. We're going to vote every one of those people out and put in new people who will stand up to the dictator, who will say, Donald, no, we're not doing this. Unless you start doing this, people, unless you start doing this, representatives, you will be fired.
You're fired.
Oh, all right. You guys are excited this morning. I love it.
So, I got that out of my system, and Jack has almost a full page of wisdom. I suggest we hear it.
All right. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my dear brother Jacques. Talk to me.
Okay. Why is President Trump and his cabinet of billionaires making the people suffer? They are attacking all the programs and institutions that help the people. This administration does not put the people at the top of their priority list where they should be. The billionaires are done with the people. They don't want to pay their fair share to maintain the people they exploit. People, citizens, please cut back on consumption. Send a message that the people will not participate in this economy. We will stop paying the people that are enslaving us. We will.
Absolutely.
We'll stop paying them.
Well, they're so crazy about bringing back these draconian laws. Well, let's bring back the wealth tax of 1935.
Yeah, that's Amen. A good one.
I would like to see that. So here you go. It's your show, Egberto, and you go ahead and take over.
Thank you, my brother. Let's correct that, though. It's our show. It's the people's show. Everybody who listens, it's your show. Anyway, I want to welcome, first of all, before we get started, El Señor Ray is in the chat. He says, Buenos dias, hermanos. I also want to I can't get to all in Substack. It's a whole bunch, but Nippon Only, Freddie Boop, Jenna, Elizabeth, Jillian Nichols, Fraud Graph. Thank you for being here. Love you all. I have a lot to to talk about. But before I got started, there's somebody that came on to the to the phones early. So let's not keep them waiting. Let's just go ahead and hear what Brother John has to say. Welcome aboard, Joe from Los Angeles, California as well. John, good morning. How are you doing, my brother?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great. I love the way y'all started the show because that's the topic I have, because Al Green here in Houston brought by doing what he did, which it's about time somebody stood up, that it's Congress. It's Congress that's empowering and not protecting us. The checks and balances have failed us. And nobody pays attention to that until finally somebody stood up. And that is the problem. I talk to people every day that are concerned about this, who were never concerned about this before, but now Trump scares them. And I tell them, quit worrying about Trump, be worried about the midterms. And the Democrats are not organized enough right now, and they're not aiming at the midterms. You don't hear it. You just don't hear it on TV. I watch regular, the mainstream media on TV, and I subscribe to a couple of newspapers, and I give money to AOC. I give money. I'm getting ready to give money to Jasmine Crockett because I believe in her dark woke. I really do. And why are we ignoring what they're doing to our education systems locally? I don't see that in the mainstream media. They're destroying our schools. This whole voucher program is absurd. It is the reinstallation of segregation. It's what it is. Call it what it is.
I am glad you brought that up, and let me first tackle what you brought up. Like I always tell this, you guys give us directions as to what to talk about. And first of all, thank you for seeing the big picture. I'm going to start with our local Texas vouchers that got passed. That is a direct transfer of your tax dollars to wealthy people. The people who are going into these private schools right now that will be getting vouchers, their kids are already there, and the intent has always been to get them away from those people, those public school people, those common folks. Most of these private expensive schools are for wealthy people. The average Texan won't have enough money that the state provides to put them into a private school worth it, which means most of that money will not be going to the rank and file average Texan. It will be going to subsidize the wealthy who has their kids already in private schools. And above and beyond that, that is in effect saying, go ahead and buy your Mercedes on the state. Go ahead and buy your whatever car you love on the state or whatever home you want, and the state will pay for it. Because right now, that entire $20,000 a month $20,000 that you're paying for kid number one and 20 for number two, we're going to more than cut that baby in half, and we are just going to give you a big check for you to go out and buy whatever you want to buy. So thanks for bringing that up. With regards to Democrats being organized for the midterms, you're absolutely right. Right now we have a Hakeem Jeffrey talking about protecting incumbents, while we have a young guy, David Hogg, and David Hogg is saying, we are going to look at every single Democratic candidate and progressive candidate, and the ones that are not doing anything to power this system, we are going to primary you. He is doing the right thing. Hakeem Jeffrey is wrong. David Hogg is right. Hakeem Jeffrey and I don't remember the name of the Democratic consultant. They're wrong. We need people that are active and ready for the American people. So, John, again, you're absolutely right. With regards to what's being covered in the media, the mainstream media is running scared. They watch exactly how much pushback they give to the American people for fear that if they say too much, Donald Trump will go after them with the Justice Department, with the FCC, etc. That is a big problem. The closest MSNBC is the closest station right now that's taken a chance. I'm talking mainstream media now, that's taken a chance to challenge much of what he's doing, specifically starting with Rachel Maddow and also Ali Velshi, who is doing some pretty insightful reporting. But the reality is they all are kind of walking on needles for fear of waking up the FCC to find something wrong to put their license in jeopardy or a suit or something like that. The only option we have, John, and this is not self-serving, this is a statement of fact, is to get our news from people that are doing it independently. There are many from many different folks that have left mainstream media. We're talking about John Garcia. Go ahead.
Midas Touch, the Young Turks.
Midas Touch, Young Turks. I hope within that, folks, you are including Politics Done Right, because we'd also do a lot of work.
I would not have an avenue to say what I need to say if it wasn't for you. You are free speech in America right now.
I appreciate
KPFT has protected, and they've attacked y'all.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But let me continue with a few things real quick, John, because you started this, which you're absolutely right. But right now, what we need to tell the folks out there like you're a good supporter of KPFT. We need to let folks out there know that just as you're given to AOC and you're given to Crockett and these great progressives, remember to include independent media in that domain, because we are definitely underfunded. And as you're going to see with the news that we're going to cover today on the massive budget cuts that are going to affect healthcare, and specifically in rural America. And, rural America mostly listens to Fox News, Newsmax, and all these other stations, which aren't going to give them this. So the penetration that we are expecting is right now, as you listen to Politics Done Right, we're not only here on air at KPFT, where a lot of rural America may not be listening, but we're going into their TikToks, their Instagrams, their YouTube lives, etc., to get this message across. And Elizabeth points out Heather Cox Richardson. Elizabeth, you're absolutely right. I read Heather Cox as well. So you're absolutely right. Okay, John, give me a closer so I can start with the subject that I want to do today.
Explain, whenever you get a chance, explain dark woke. And is it something we should be embracing?
Will do.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your words, my brother. Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Okay. Here is what I want to first bring up, an article, and the article is in one of our progressive independent media rags titled "Trump Administration Plots Massive Budget Cuts That Would Destroy Public Health." You can read that article in Common Dreams. And Common Dreams is one of these independent rags. And again, all of us that are doing independent media, we also feed off of what good mainstream stories are. The Washington Post is now controlled by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos controls the opinion section, and he's given orders that the opinion section can't write about a lot of these stuff. He has not yet completely clamped down on the investigative reporting and those that are doing hard news. But as you all know, if you are working for an institution where your editor or your owner is clamping down on opinions of certain types, when you're writing your stories, even if you're doing a hard information story, that you're going to be concerned about what you say. So you're going to be very careful to not hit certain tones. And that is where many of us in independent media would take that info from, let's say, Washington Post, a New York Times, a Floridian, or one of these papers, and add context to the straight reporting. And this is what we're going to do with the story about the budget cuts in healthcare that too many people don't understand the actual effect of what it will do. So here it goes. The Trump administration plots massive budget cuts that would destroy public health. Trump promised to fight for the working class, but instead, he, Elon Musk, and RFK are attacking the programs and services that keep middle class, working class, and vulnerable families healthy in order to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. Under the administration's proposal, the Trump administration is preparing budget proposals that experts say would utterly devastate public health across the United States by eliminating life savings initiatives and hampering key medical research with massive cuts to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Institute of Health. Have you noticed you don't hear much about the avian flu anymore and all of these other types of diseases? A lot of the erratas and the messages that come out of these different organizations are there no more. They're not coming out. Some of them say they're going to be released on Twitter. It's ridiculous. What that means is you have to take care of your own health right now. You have to make sure and wash your own vegetables, wash it, whether they said it's washed or not, because there's nobody there really helping you out. Under the administration proposal, which has not been finalized and must ultimately be approved by Republican-controlled Congress, the CDC and the NIH would see their budgets cut by 40%. Think about that. We have a healthcare system under stress already, and the CDC budgets to be cut and NIH by 40%. Overall, the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, would see its budget cuts from $121 billion to roughly $80 billion under the Trump plan. Ellie Murray and an independent epidemiologist warned on social media that a cut that big would destroy public health care. The administration is also pushing to consolidate departments and programs under the newly announced Administration for a Healthy America, an initiative spearheaded by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, who is overseeing large-scale firings at his agencies that critics says endanger the well-being of children and families across the U.S. Now, that statement is clearly out of, one of these professional news media, where they talk about JFK firing staff. JFK ain't firing a damn person. JFK doesn't know what the hell's going on inside of the HHS. All of this has been documented in Project 2025 as about cutting all these governmental services. That's where it is at. And they are working above and beyond JFK. JFK doesn't know what's going on. Every time JFK goes for an interview, they said, did you know you cut this? Oh, I'll look into it. I'll look into that. JFK is not doing the cutting. All of this stuff is on autopilot from Project 2025. When we spoke about Project 2025 before the election, people said, well, Donald Trump said he's not doing anything about Project 2025. Now his Project 2025 main author runs OMB. I'm telling you, folks, they don't have a problem lying to their people. They don't have a problem lying to their people at all. They just go ahead, lie to you, say we won't do it, and then they go ahead and follow the plan. Donald Trump has nothing to lose. Donald Trump is going to do one of two things. He has one term left in which he can do whatever. He doesn't have to run for re-election at all. So he doesn't care what he does. He just needs to support his friends so that if he leaves office, his friends will be there to pay him back for all the billions that they get channeled to him. But if the opportunity arises for him to call martial law, he can stay into power. He believes he can stay in power that much longer because he has a non-functional Congress that refuses to hold up Article 1 of the Constitution. CNN noted that as part of a sweeping attack on public health agencies, a proposal eliminates CDC's Global Health Center and programs focused on chronic disease prevention and domestic HIV/AIDS prevention. While Some agencies' work would be moved into the new AHA centers, programs on gun violence, injury prevention, youth violence prevention, drowning, minority health, and others would be eliminated entirely. The proposal would also eliminate a number of what? Rural health programs at HHS, including grants and residency programs for rural hospitals and state offices. Do you know how difficult when these doctors get out of their, get out of their training or looking for residencies? Do you think one of their first places is Timbuktu, Texas, or Timbuktu, Montana, or Timbuktu, Nebraska, or Timbuktu, North Dakota? It isn't. There are incentives for these folks to go to these hospitals. There is a reason there are incentives, because people don't want to go there. So the government helps out, and they help out the private sector to get people into places that they otherwise wouldn't go. You're not going to move all these farmers and ranchers and roughnecks to the cities. They neither want to move there, nor is there much for them to do there. So we have been subsidizing our government, even as many of these people claim to hate government, because much of the times they don't know how subsidized rural America is. Trump is finding that out, that in order to make all these cuts into social programs, the people that are going to get affected the most are rural Americans that live in rural areas. So if you're not going to cut the Pentagon budget, if you're not going to stop building bombs, if you're not going to stop building F-30, whatever, that 35s that are not necessary, you are going to have to cut somewhere else. And the only other place to cut are these social programs that mainly go to rural America, the base of the Republican Party. And that's what they're doing. They don't care about you. You don't matter. Because after all these cuts, the sole purpose of these cuts is to ensure that they can use reconciliation, the budgetary process, to give this humongous tax cuts that will go mostly to wealthy people. Folks, this is just numbers. These are just statements of fact. Okay? Thomas Forley, a pediatrician and public health researcher, called the proposal a bloodbath and highlighted what he calls stunning examples of the kinds of initiatives in the administration's crosshairs, including the National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion and newborn screening programs for genetic diseases and hearing loss. And again, remember, we're a first world nation according to our own government. But our mortality rate among mothers, our birth mortality rate way exceeds even Cuba. Actually, Cuba has it very well. Cuba has one of the best healthcare systems, not using all these fancy things, but they have sure known how to keep their people healthy. Nothing fancy, just care. Every country from Holland, meaning the Netherlands, to Denmark, to France, the care that the average citizens get much better than we get here. Now, if you have a lot of money in America, nobody can beat that. But if you are just the average American citizen, working class, middle class, your healthcare sucks because all the money is actually going to the pockets of shareholders and the execs and others who own these hospitals, who owns the doctors. And notice what I just said, who owns the doctors. Many doctors' practices are being converted into venture capitalists purchasing these places and then rehiring the doctors to work. And they must see X amount of patients per hour. Understand what's happening here, folks. Call your representative. That is what you have to do. It hasn't happened yet. It has not happened yet. People still have power. You still have power before the system is corrupted. And notice what I said, the system, because what they're going to do is decimate the system. And when people start to complain, then they'll start patching the system in with private actors to come in, and you pay more for private actors than it would in the system, because the private actors maximize their own monies. They pay little wages, but they maximize the profits for their shareholders and bonuses for executives. If these folks continue to work within the government strata, guess what? It's not for profit. They make better salaries. They get better incomes. They get better benefits. And your entire neighborhood, your entire society, because we have those workers that are paid well and providing you good services, it makes a more vibrant economy for you. So this is multifaceted, people, multifaceted. Rural hospital flexibility, this is what they're eliminating. And I need you to have this list ready. It's at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, where you can find the article. But these are all the things that are going to be eliminated. Listen up, rural America. Here it goes. Rural hospital flexibility grants, gone. State Office of Rural Health, gone. Rural Residency Development Program, gone. At-risk rural hospital program grants, gone. Family planning, gone. Hansen's Disease Facility, gone. Youth violence prevention, gone. Adverse childhood experiences, gone. Firearm injury and mortality prevention research, gone. Traumatic brain injury, TBI, formerly in the CDC, gone. Drowning, gone. Elderly falls, formerly in the CDC, gone. Other injury preventative activities, gone. Injury control research centers, gone. These things didn't come into power because they didn't come into being just out of the blue sky. They came into being because a need was found that these things would help people, and specifically where it was needed most, in rural areas. You know where most of Biden's infrastructure and CHIPS and Act monies went? Red states. You know why? Because they were the most needy. They continue to be the most needy. And what are the things that Donald Trump are planning to cut? Because again, if you're not going to cut the defense budget, all those things are the only places he can find enough money to cut. People, I need you to forget about your ideology. I need you to forget if you're MAGA. I need you to forget if you're a Republican. I need you to forget if you're a Democrat, independent, or whatever the hell you are. And start considering yourself just an American, a working class, middle class, fairly high class American. Because all of these things are coming after you. They're not coming after you because they don't like you. They're coming after you because that's where they can take back the monies. Already we are underpaid. That's the reason the wealthy has what they have. That's what's called excess labor, excess value. They take your excess labor, your excess value, and they pocket it because they control. And we don't yet have the regulations, the unions, and all the structures to ensure this doesn't happen. But you still have the power. It's not gone yet. It is going if you don't do something about it. But you still have the power. You have a congressperson that if enough of you call the congressperson, if enough of you show up at that office, and I'm talking about all of you, whether you're MAGA, whether you're Republican, whether you're Democrat, all of you, I don't care if you're in a red district, blue district, I don't care where you are. Pressure these guys into supporting you. And you can't sit back and do nothing. Because there are others doing something. There are others doing something. And those that are doing something are not doing the something for you. They're doing the something. Those lobbyists, etc., they're working for that guy who wants those $1 billion tax breaks. I'm working with lobbyists in Washington. There's this friend of mine. He's living in a basement in Washington. He goes up to Capitol Hill every day lobbying for health care. He has a hard time actually seeing the congressperson speaking mostly to their staff. And this guy is living off of the support of whatever people would give him. A lobbyist living in the basement. I know about 3 or 4 of them living in basements in DC, going up to Capitol Hill, getting a quick shower, putting on a tie and suit, and going up to Capitol Hill every day. Folks, it's on us. It's on you. You don't let things happen to you. You don't let things happen to you. You ensure that only good things happen to you. And right now, it is true. They're getting ready to decimate your healthcare. They're getting ready to decimate your FAA. They're getting ready to decimate all the things that there were reasons why they came into being. There were reasons why these agencies, why these sub-agencies were created. Because they were needed. Is there fat in the government? Yeah, go to the military-industrial complex. Go cut those budgets. Go cut those budgets. Folks, it's on you. All right, let's go to Ray. Ray's on line number 1. Come on in, Ray.
Yeah, top of the morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
So before I tuned into you this morning, I actually it came across my algorithm on YouTube for the Christopher Titus show. And without going too far down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, because I know you want to move forward, and I heard your spirited talk to a lot of those MAGA heads out there. I know probably Brian or Bard is listening right now, and then I know they're the outliers. But, when I keep on, thinking about this whole rigging thing, it kind of gives me a bit of hope to say, you know what? Maybe America didn't choose this, and that's the reason why they're moving fast and breaking things, because they know in the background the courts are moving, all these cases of voter suppression through, and there's going to be, some type of recourse that comes back. And when it does, we might actually get our democracy back. Now, that's a big shot of hope in. And I know that probably your brother Eric Hayes is in the chat. He's gonna have a field day with that. But I say that to say it gives me a sense of hope in thinking that, America, we didn't choose this because they cheated. And we're just stuck with the results because Trump beat that horse so bad we can make hamburger meat out of it now. Mm-hmm. When he was lying about the election being rigged when he lost against Biden. That's why we just don't have a way to do that. It's like the boy who cried wolf, when you cry wolf so much time, it just doesn't matter when there's a real wolf around. And when there was a real wolf in the form of voter suppression, we couldn't really do anything because we beat that horse, and we didn't really have another strategy except Trump is bad. We need to beat him. And I actually applaud David Hogan. I'm going to leave on this because, I heard James Carville say, why are we are we supposed to go against Republicans? Well, you need to find out who the best of the best is inside the party, so we might have a better shot at beating the Republicans. Now, if you're a Jasmine Crockett, you have nothing to worry about. But if you're a Hakeem Jeffries, you might have something to worry about. That's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, Ray. I mean, and what you said is important, and you're absolutely right. And that's what I say. Hogg is right. Hakeem Jeffries is wrong. Thank you so kindly, my brother. Have a good one. All right. I want to answer a few things in the Substack. Elizabeth brought up that Heather Cox Richardson is a good one. Welcome. Quote, Jim Acosta is one of the independent media now who goes ahead and works very hard. He's on Substack, just where we are at as well. So check him out. He does a show every day. Steve Schmidt, also. I've had Steve Schmidt on before. Steve Schmidt is another good guy out there doing some tough work in the independent media. What did Felon 47 pay? 0. You're absolutely right. It's never happening. It's never happening. Says we paid over 2.7 billion for January 6th. You're absolutely right. We also have Ray is right, Hog is right from It's Happening. And there's a message. Where is the list? Do I have to be? Okay, the list, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And it points to the article that has the list. I am going to write a correspondent blog for the insert that I just did, which will have the list as well. It is important that you know the list. And when you contact your congressperson, to tell them, no, these are the lists, and let them know that you'll be publicizing this. On the chat, welcome Glenn Ryan, my dear brother, progressive brother, Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. We have Glenn Ryan from Katy. We also have in the house, I think I saw Lisa Blair. Lisa Blair, good morning. She says, James Carville is the consultant who disagreed with David Hogg. Thank you for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. And he has been wrong consistently. It's funny. Everybody gives James Carville a lot of kudos for having gotten Bill Clinton elected, somebody that shouldn't get elected. Let me remind people about those times. Those are times when Bill Clinton got elected with under 50% of the vote. And why? That was because we had Ross Perot, if I recall correctly, in there in one of the items. Look, it was a different animal altogether. The person who we can really say got over 50% of the vote by a bunch as well was who again? Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Remember that. Clinton won. Yeah, but Clinton didn't win by a landslide. Clinton did this stuff called triangulation, where neoliberalism was brought into the Democratic Party in full fold. Unfortunately, neither Biden nor Obama arrested it as they should, but at least they weren't that bad. All right, I'm going to go back to the phones now. Let's go to Xavier. Come on in, Xavier. Good morning, my brother.
Hi there. Good morning to you, Egberto. Hey, so I want to talk to you about something that you said earlier about Trump and about how he's doing all this stuff. There's this, I was listening to, I want to give a shout out to Roy Allister, and also, Alistair Campbell from the Rest is Politics podcast. They had Michael Wolff on. Michael Wolff wrote the book Fire and Fury, and he was in an interview talking about how Trump governs by headlines. And I think that's something that we have to pay attention to. He wants to stay relevant. That's the whole key to this, is relevance. Look at all during Biden's presidency. He could have been doing other things, but he tweeted and tweeted and tweeted. And so that's, I feel like that's where he tries to stay in the headlines because that's what gets him the most attention. And we seem to forget that he wasn't a media man for like a few years. He was, because The Apprentice was on for 14 years. That's a long time to be in the media, especially in that kind of space. And so it doesn't matter. Folks say, oh, well, everybody else around him is the one that's elevating him up. And Michael Wolff makes a good point where he states in the interview, let's not hype up everybody because then guess what? You shift the focus off of him. He is the central figure in all of this. And that's just where, we sometimes miss that point.
Guess what? You are right. They talk about doing something called flooding the zone. And flooding the zone with all these headlines, and you go away and run with it while they're decimating you on the inside. So if that is what you're referring to, I would be in complete agreement with you that we can't just go after the headlines. I hope that you've seen that in the article that I covered today, you'll see that you won't have all these things itemized and listed in the mainstream media. You would also not see that we're not saying attack Trump, attack Trump, attack Trump. I think the marching orders that you heard were I shouldn't say marching orders. I should say the education that was provided was that this is done through the legislature, not the legislature, but the Congress. And what I pointed out to people is that going to the Congress, going to their leadership is where you actually solve the problems that will actually affect you. So while a lot of headlines are going out there, you're absolutely right. We have specifics in that list that one of folk on Substack already asked for. There are specific tasks that we're saying are getting cut. This materially affects you. And this is what, if you don't want that to occur, this is what you can do with it. We are action based, not just saying Trump is bad. And I hope that you got that out of the program thus far.
Yes, sir. Another thing too that I would like to mention too, before I might leave out of here with you. I was thinking about the midterms, and this is what really interests me because, like I was explaining to my mother the other day, when you look at all this anger, how is that going to translate into the midterms? What are people going to vote at the end of the day? You can be angry all day with what's happening right now, but at the ballot box, that's where it's going to matter.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. If you're done, what I want to say is the following. People have to believe that the effort that they're going to make to the ballot box is going to matter. And right now, on the Democratic side, they were not able to convince enough of the people that voting for them mattered. By the way, remember, it was a very close election, extraordinarily close, but more people believed that they mattered for the change than those who didn't believe that. So, I mean, that is the answer. And you nailed it. It's who shows up at the ballot box. And it's also whether they can show up at the ballot box. So there's a double-edged sword that has to be sharpened. One, to make people believe that their vote matters, and two, that they will, in effect, have access to the ballot. And that's what we have to ensure. Xavier, I got to go to Johnny, but if you have 10 seconds to wrap up for 10 seconds.
Sure, no problem. I'll just put it like this. Everybody have a great day. Everybody, don't be in despair. Just keep the peace and, just.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Oh, a theoretical Tuesday morning to you. I can't see whether it's good or bad. Before I dovetail with your remarks about proactivity, increasing people's proactiveness with regards to their local and statewide officials, I got to ask you about Steve Schmidt. Are you referring to the same Steve Schmidt who was John McCain's campaign manager, who chose Sarah Palin, that word salad disaster for him?
He has atoned. He's atoned. He is atoned. In fact, when he left the Republican Party, he said he's not leaving the Republican Party to become an independent. He's leaving the Republican Party to become a Democrat because democracy only exists in the Democratic Party at this point in our history. And even though he is not a progressive by no means, he does have a good following, and he is supporting progressives because, again, he believes that is the only path to maintaining the democracy. So Steve Schmidt isn't like other progressive journalists like myself. He's a very centrist kind of a guy, but he's one of the good centrists. What I mean by that is he will vote progressive. Now, as opposed to a centrist that sells out. Go ahead.
Okay, the reason I ask is because I came across his page, his presence, his channel on YouTube a few weeks ago. And I read his introduction. I watched his video, and I listened to what he had to say. And I posted a comment to him. I complimented him on his articulate position on whatever it was, and I forgot what it was he was talking about. But I also let him know that if he wants to be, as he described himself, let's see if I can recall, he said he's going to be honest and brutally honest and two other things. And I thought, okay, if you say you're going to do that, in order to get there, you have to be honest about your complicity in bringing us to where we are now. I said you have to be willing to take ownership of and apologize for your selection of Sarah Palin, and giving her to John McCain, and for John McCain's not doing his homework and checking your work. I says, if it hadn't been for Sarah Palin, there's a good chance that a whole bunch of dumbass Americans on the right side of the aisle would not have said, hey, if she can do it, why can't I? And here we are, all the dominoes began to fall.
I hear you, Johnny. I hear you. Let me tell you. Remember what I say all of the times. You know that I don't think there's anybody more progressive than I am. I'm pretty there. But at the same time, I understand that there are people that don't follow or believe everything that I do, but that they have the same path that they want. Basically 80% of what I want. I am going to work with these folks, and Steve Schmidt, even though, like I said, I'm not 100% into his philosophy, he's a good guy. And given the mea culpa that he did when he left the party on MSNBC, and he stayed out of the limelight for a long time before he came back with his Substack, I have a whole lot of respect for the guy.
Oh, I'm not saying that we should not associate with him at all. I'm not saying that. No, I respect your approach. I respect Cenk Uygur's approach. I have been defending Cenk Uygur to a lot of lefties who are criticizing him, who are too purists, in my opinion. I believe there is room and there's a necessity for people on our side, especially media people like yourself and Cenk Uygur. There has to be some people who have a more, let me say, holistic approach, because if everybody was like me, guess what? We wouldn't get anywhere with them.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Johnny. Hey, Johnny, I got to go, Johnny, but you're absolutely right, sir.
Brought up Friday. Friday, I asked you about what was going on with outfits like, what's it called?
Just describe it.
The other one. Which?
Just describe what you mean, and
Yeah, the organization that organizes people to do stuff.
You're talking about like Move On or 50501 or any one of those.
Well, the other one, I think it starts with an R. Anyway, I asked you, and I've neglected one important piece. When we talk about organizing volunteers to give them physical training and legal training to follow people who are at high risk of being pulled over and disappeared by unidentifiable law enforcement. I forgot to mention that part of that should be some of those volunteer groups should be certified and able to conduct citizens' arrests of these guys when they show up to do that, because they're operating outside the law. Remember that? I said
that is something that needs to be researched on how that works. I that's above my pay grade, but you're right about that. All right. Got to go, brother. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. No. All right, let's go to Moses. Come on in, Moses. Come on, sis.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias, corazón. Talk to me.
¿Cómo está?
Bien, gracias.
America is shaking awake from complacency. We were complacent for a long time. Our bellies were full. We had everything we wanted. All our wars were fought abroad. We didn't have to worry. But in the past 8-10 years, we have been cast down. Now we have been shaken out of our complacency. The nation today is being tested to its mettle. America has been tested. Whatever we saw our neighbors suffering, now it is come to us. Look carefully. While the people may look as if they are down for the count, but they are not fully flattened. Americans are not fully flat. They are not down to the ground yet. The people are now feeling the pain of MAGA. They're feeling it, even the MAGA rights, whatever they be. They now are beginning to feel the pain. The pain of defeat, and they are rising from the blow, believe it or not. Nobody likes pain. It could be your best friend who's stepping on your toes. When you feel the pain, he's no longer your best friend. They are rising from the blow. See the number of protest marches against the atrocities of Mr. Trump and his hatchet man, Elon Musk. The people are rising. And in every civilization, every nation, when the people begin to rise, when you begin to see the people begin to rise, they are not rising for no reason.
Thank you very much, Moses. Moses?
Let me finish.
Yes.
Yes. There will be a fall. Go forward, America. The battle behind your back belongs to God. That's all I've got to say.
Moses, thank you for your wise words. I hadn't heard from you in a while. Thank you for calling in, my sister. You have a good one, okay? All right, let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Morning. We need more Steve Smiths. But what I called about is whenever we have the midterms, I think we're going to win the midterms, and a bunch of these Republicans are going to challenge them. And Trump's Justice Department is going to waste a whole lot of money, make a big quagmire of investigations into these elections. You can just look for that to happen. Anyway, watch out for bird flu. It's coming, and I'm done.
Thank you, my brother, Bruce. And I want to touch on something. I think you're right that the elections they lose, they're going to try to challenge it. But we have to remember that the election would have been held under his Justice Department. So I don't know how much they can really challenge. Okay, come on in, Brian.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
This goes to Howard. What type of a sick human being plans a murder, carries it out, and then someone else who never knows him, never met him, gives money to his financial defense? What type of a sick person does that?
Well, Brian, you let me know. What kind of a sick person does that? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? Because you were complaining about someone getting funding for their defense yesterday, but you didn't say anything about that one. What are you complaining about that one? Why don't you complain about that?
I'm complaining about both of them.
Okay, that is your right to do so.
Yes. An innocent person is dead, and someone who does not know him gives money to his legal defense.
Okay, all right. You've been stated that. Now let me reply to that. Okay. A lot of people have sent a lot of money to Brother Trump, a convicted felon, somebody who has been reported to have assaulted women. What kind of a sick person? So hold on. Did I let you talk, Brand? Please, my brother, learn to have some respect, sir. All right. Now, what kind of a sick person goes ahead and supports somebody who has been convicted of assaulting a woman? What kind of a person would support criminals who have gotten police officers killed, like what happened in January 6th? Be careful how you point fingers. Okay, one person's terrorist is another person's hero, and what I'm trying to put out, and I'm not justifying any of this. In fact, the worst of the worst really are the folks on January 6th that really harm all those folks, and the worst of the worst are the healthcare executives. I'm not talking about killing of any of these folks at all. That's not what I'm saying. But they have short killed a lot of people. Their policies have murdered people, but the problem about not having the thought process and critical thinking is that somebody kills somebody with a gun. It is graphic. But when you have an insurance policies that kill people, not by one at a time, but by hundreds of thousands, oh, it is okay then for all those dead people. When the policies come down from the Trump administration, that's going to kill a lot of rural areas as they close those hospitals and people can't get to those emergency rooms. That's going to kill more people than that one shot. But again, if you're not critically thinking, you don't see that. Anyway, Brian,
can I bring up some numbers real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Error. Okay,
go ahead.
Medical errors kill about 250,000 people per year. Medical reactions to drugs kill about 100,000 people per year.
That's great, but let me tell you again, is there something called voluntary manslaughter and involuntary manslaughter? All right, the fact is the following, sir.
He was assassinated.
Brian, I got to close out, so stop speaking so I can answer. Now, what you mentioned are things that were accidental, most of them that is. And, however, when an insurance company doesn't pay a bill or stops you from getting something, that's not accidental. That's intentional. That's by policy. I got to go, Brian. Thank you so kindly for your call, my dear brother. Let's go to the studio.
Well, that was interesting. Thank you, Brian, for always calling in and always giving your opinion. We may not agree with you, and most times we don't, but it's certainly your right to have that opinion, and we appreciate it. Jack, what you got?
Well, it's Earth Day. It'd be really nice just to spend a little time out in Mother Nature today. She needs you.
Absolutely. Clean up that pollution. Egberto, take it home.
All right, folks. Look, folks, thank you so kindly. I didn't get a chance to play a very important video. It is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It is it's about the tariffs and education and much more. Please check it out. It's at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can talk to me directly by email by going to kpft@politicsdoneright.com. kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Look, love all you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program